Good morning, traders. FOMC day today. So in about 5 or 6 hours time, the Fed will be deciding whether to raise interest rates or keep them the same. Probably they won't do anything and keep interest rates the same. However, what will be interesting is what Jerome Powell has to say after the FOMC interest rate announcement is made. If he's dovish, we should see the markets rally and the dollar come off a bit. But if he's hawkish, we might see some more pressure on the markets. I think it's more likely to be dovish and that we should see some bump in the markets. However, I remain hedged on my NASDAQ and Nvidia trades. We'll come to those in a minute, but let's go through currencies first of all. And I think the interesting one here is the dollar yen. I'm going to look at this on the day chart quickly. For those of you trading this, you might be interested in what happened last time the Japanese intervened, and that was on October 2022. That's over here. And you can see we had this big intervention, a sideways movement after some considerable retracements, about 78.6%, which is actually where we are today. We'll have a look at that when we scoot across. And then quite a lot of time before the second round of intervention, and then I'd hazard a guess that we had a couple more after that. I'm not 100% sure about these two, but certainly these two at the top here. Let's scoot across to where we are today, and I've taken this fractal from the top to the bottom here, and I've done a copy. You can do that by using the bars tool on TradingView, and I'll just show you quickly how I do that. So you choose the bar pattern, and I draw it from the top down to the bottom there, encapsulating that entire area, and you get this sort of pattern drawn in. Now, what I've done is I've just copied that and dragged it across to where we are today. Let's get rid of that and go across to where we are. And there's exactly the same fractal that I just drew in there. So far we've followed the same pattern. A little bit more of a stark retracement here, but yesterday was precisely what happened the previous time. What I'd expect is some faffing around here for the next week or two maybe. Repeated attempts to push this back up higher before another intervention by the Bank of Japan. If we follow this fractal vaguely or precisely even, we'll get right down to the bottom of the channel, bounce off it, come back down, retest it, and then eventually break. So this fractal and this channel I drew completely separately, and it's just a coincidence that this moves down to the bottom of the channel. Remember, these fractals are just rough ideas to give an idea of what could happen and what has happened in the past. So that's the idea on dollar yen. Let's have a look at the dollar index. I'm not trading the other majors right now because I think it's a bit messy. And the dollar index looks really bullish. If anything, we've got a flag pattern here, which is a bullish flag. I can draw a rough parallel channel like this to indicate where the flag is. And we've broken through the top of this flag, which means we should push higher. If we use a pure technical analysis, the height of this flagpole should be the height of this breakout. And we can draw it something like that, which would take the dollar index up to about 108. That means more pressure on the euro, more pressure on the dollar yen, unless there's Bank of Japan intervention, which there probably will be. Now that 160 seems to be their line in the sand. I know it's tricky trading the dollar yen. I've been trading it for 20 years, and some years you just get it right and it works perfectly. Some years you're constantly fighting this trend. Feels like I've been doing that for quite a long time now. But eventually this trend will change, just like it did in October 2022, and we could see something like this fractal forming over the coming days, weeks, and even months. So NASDAQ and S&P came off yesterday a little bit more sharply than I expected. Those are my positions. I'm long there and short here on NASDAQ, nothing on S&P. I'm waiting for the FOMC meeting later on today to decide what to do next and how to adjust these hedges. I'm also hedged on gold. We'll get to that shortly. I've got a short hedge position on Nvidia, which we took from the top and we hedged somewhere down below us. So that's in profit at the moment. And then we've taken some profit on our Tesla longs, just below $200. All of these will be affected by the FOMC today, so it's not worth taking the gamble. Let's wait and see what happens. More importantly, what Jerome Powell says after the interest rates announcement. Well, going across to gold and Bitcoin, we've just had a collapse in Bitcoin in the last few minutes. Let's have a look at what's going on. And what I did was I actually drew this and I put it up on X yesterday. And I think this is what it looks like we're going to do now. So a move down to about the bottom of the channel, which could take us down to about 54.5 or 55,000. We've broken down through this longer channel support, but we've now changed angles and we're trading within this sort of steeper downward trend line, and the bottom is down there. I indicated that with this red arrow yesterday. I think we might get there faster than I expected. So somewhere around about 55,000 plus or minus 1,000 or two. So I'll be looking to grab some more Bitcoin at about 55 or 56,000. My overall target for Bitcoin is a break up through this channel, then a break up through this longer term channel, a break up through this all-time high, and then to move much higher. Gold's trying to form a bottom here. We've had 7 or 8 candles on the 4-hour chart. We've got a 1 up, 1 down here on this 4-hour chart. There's the 1 up, 1 down. And there's the 200 period moving average on the 4-hour chart. So it's a good support area, bearing in mind we've got the FOMC later, which will affect gold as well as stocks. Hedged on gold. We took some profit on our longs on the way up. We've taken some profit on the shorts, and now we're equally hedged on gold. Now, in order to see the dollar move down and for stocks to move up and gold to move up and everything else to move up, we actually need to see this 10-year yield come down. We're trying to form a top here, a little bit of a spike high, A bit of a sort of a dark cloud cover candle, not really very emphatic, and just moving down and yesterday back up again. If we can hold beneath this level at 4.69, we should see this move down. However, we've got this channel that we're moving up along, and the top of this channel is currently at about 4.83. So we could see the 10-year yield moving even higher up to about 4.8. Remembering that once we got above 5 recently, we were rejected sharply from there. So 4.8, 4.9 if we have to get there, but we may just hold here. We're just below the 78.6% Fibonacci at 4.75. We've got the top of the channel at about 4.85, and then this order block and recent high just around about 5%. I'm not trading this currently, but I'll be looking for shorts perhaps at the top of the channel, but I'm hoping for this to move down so that we can get some wiggle on gold and stocks and so on. Right, going across to energies, URA and UEC, we're long on those. Those came off quite sharply yesterday. I'm not sure why, but pretty much still in the range, so nothing really to add to that. A little bit annoying, just going sideways. Again, I think this is going to sort of grind higher over time. Slowly and gradually, it's not going to be explosive. We had the first big move on the uranium instruments, and I think it's a period of consolidation for a while. Now, natural gas and WTI or Brent crude, we're short on WTI. That's going great so far. Our entry price is around about 83.5 to 83.6, and we're now at about 80.5, just above 80. I think that once we break support here, get down below the 200-day moving average, we should head down to the bottom of the channel. That's about $78. Perhaps a bit of a bounce back up to this zone here. I've actually got the path drawn in already, and then a resumption of the move down, back down through the bottom of the channel. So I drew this path in about a week ago. We're following it quite accurately so far, and if we keep this angle, we should take another few days to get to the bottom of the channel and then back up on a small bounce and a resumption of the downtrend. And then finally, natural gas. Well, not a lot's changed. I did a video on natural gas yesterday. Go and check that out. We took profit at the top there, as you know, and I'm looking for dips down to these moving averages to add another piece to my long position. That would take us down to about 1.8 or 1.85, but I'm also allowing for a move all the way down to the bottom here. Check out the last video on that. I'll put that link up at the end of this one. And I think that covers everything, folks. Remember the FOMCs later on today, and that will affect all of the markets. It'll affect the dollar, it'll affect gold, stock markets, energies, everything like that. So be careful with your positioning. I expect they won't change the interest rate at all, but what's going to be interesting is what JP has to say afterwards. Remember, this is the first time the Fed has had the opportunity to cut rates, even though they probably won't. So it is quite a big deal. So have a great trading day, and I'll see you in the next video.